Thank you for joining us today at Miniature Wargaming Lab. Today we will be painting a Orc Gutrippaz. This is from the Dominion box set, and we're going to do it to a tabletop ready status. So something that you can throw on the table and it looks better than most. Alright, for this I primed him in standard Mechanicus gray, and I used mostly Army Painter colors. The two Citadel colors I used were Mephiston Red and the Nuln Oil, and also the Stirland Mud, but you can use sand and some little Elmer's glue if you'd like. Now for the Army Painter colors, I used Jungle Green, Leather Brown, Fur Brown, Oak Brown, so there's a lot of browns, Gunny Metal, Shining Silver, Ash Gray, Desert Yellow, Dragon Red, and I also used some Necromancer Cloak, one of my favorite really dark grays, and I used some Vallejo German Camouflage Beige World War II. So, let's go ahead and get started on this guy. I have my Gutrippaz primed here, and I'm going to use some Army Painter Jungle Green. I'm just going to put down a first coat on his skin. This isn't going to cover too well. It's a little thin, so you can put two coats if you want. I only put one for reasons. Just trying to kind of dye the primer that color. And this is going to be brighter than what I intend because I'm going to bring the tone down. You might say, well, why? Well, I've got a bunch of this paint. Got to use it up. And once we're done using a wash, it'll get down to the color close to the box art. So we're going to go ahead and find all the open patchy skin parts and just put a nice thick coat. Now we're going to do the assortment of rags they wear. And for that, we're going to use some Army Painter Leather Brown. We'll go ahead and get our brush. Now we're going to have to be a little bit neater with this. That way we don't touch the green. It should be simpler to do as we're just writing on a higher surface. And I'll edge it out first. And the spots I have to be careful with. I'll go around it. Now I'm going to use some Army Painter Fur Brown, and I'm going to use that to do the various straps. So a lot of this creature is going to be green and brown, so I want to get some differentiation in the browns to show they're made out of different materials. So I want lighter, more red brown here for all the strap material. That includes what you see around the shins, how he keeps his shield attached to him. And then this particular model has some right there, so they're close but different in colors. Now I'm going to paint the shaft of the spear, and for that I'm going to use some oak brown. So a much darker brown. Make it look like a salvaged hardwood here. Now I'm going to paint the shield. For that I'm going to use some Mephiston Red. And why? Because it is my favorite red. No, it's not Army Painter. I think like Dragon Red or Pure Red would do. It's such a solid red base color and coats so well. So we're just going to go ahead and get all of this shield. Bumped the camera again. So just rough this in. I'm going to get the front and the back. Now, they have many more plates. You see like a knee pad and a shoulder pad. As you go through your guys, you can vary it up. Create different combinations. But the shield should always be red. Now I'm going to take some gunmetal from Army Painter, and I'm going to do his little armor plates there. Around the knee and the shoulder. You also notice that the shield has these little bolts sticking out of it. Get those. I'll just touch the top. These other little studs in there, and if you look at how these are fastened on, it shows a little metal ring right there. Go ahead and fill all this in. Now we're going to take some Army Painter Shining Silver, and I'm going to use that for the blade. I want that to be a little bit brighter. Get the butt end here. Now I'm going to take some Army Painter Ash Gray. What I'm going to do is he's actually wearing, don't need too much paint, he's actually wearing a skinned thing right here. So we're just going to paint that simple coat of gray here. Kind of to bring it out. So while we let this guy dry, because I've pretty much blocked in, done all my blocking and got the colors I want. Little overruns here or there, but we can pick that up on once we wash it. So I'm going to take some Stirland Mud, and this stuff takes a while to dry, so that'll be good while it's drying. Take my little tool, and I shouldn't have touched it on the paint job. Some of these cloaks hang really down, but all it does on like a sloppy swamp drilling orc is stain it a really dark brown. That's fine. I just like to spread this around. This will dry and create some earth-like textures. Yes, you can use some PVA glue or Elmer's glue and some sand. For some reason I like this better. Now that this is dry, I'm ready to change its color. I want to turn it into Necromancer Cloak. So I like the texture it creates, but not the color. So I'm going to use my smaller brush and edge in around his feet. First, that way I can concentrate on that. Okay. Then once I do around his feet, I can just take it and pile it on. Now I got everything blocked in, and this is, base is dry. I'm going to take some Nuln Oil. Since we're just trying to get this battle tabletop ready, I'm going to set that there. And I am going to take a brush that I have thoroughly messed up, get a little wet. It's good for slopping on Nuln Oil. I like nice thick coats of Nuln Oil. And already right there you can see it's adding some character and pulling out a lot of the detail. And once we get this thing all slopped up, I'll probably go to bed, let this dry overnight. Now that you see the wash has dried, we're actually in a pretty good place here. So I'm going to take some Army Painter Scaly Hide and I'm just going to apply highlight to the skin here. Just one thin coat around the parts that stick up, raised edges here. Then I'll start, just wipe off some excess there. Oops, been off camera. Try to make them look less neon. Now I'm going to take some German camouflage beige. I've already got some in my palette. Actually, any dark khaki color would work, but I happen to like this color. And I'm going to just outline the teeth here. And a little bit in his mouth. Just going to run the edge of the brush. There we go. And it looks like he has gnarly teeth in there. Now we're going to do some dry brushing. Using that same camouflage, German camouflage, I'm going to take my dry brush and I'm going to dip it in the paint. And then on a sheet of paper, I'm going to wipe most of that paint off. And then I'm give it a little dusting. That'll stick to the edges there. Doing it on the spear is kind of hard. Don't want to knock the spear off. Alright, now that I actually have the desert yellow stirred up properly, what I'm going to do is this little stitch work here. Using my very fine brush, I'm just going to run it along the top there. You're just taking the side of the tip of the brush, run it back and forth along the little stitches there. And that way it can look like two unlike materials are touching there. Excellent. Now, let's go for some Army Painter Dragon Red. Now this is going to be a brighter red, and I want to use it on the shield here. And I'm just going to use it on the raised parts. And you can put on as much red as you want, you know, color to taste. I'm going to do the back side of the shield a little bit here. That gives it a little bit more pop. Now what we're going to do is we're going back to our Army Painting Shining Silver here. And I'm just going to do basically where the light would come down and touch it. Brighten it up a little bit. And also, we use the shiny silver a little bit on the armor. And we've got some little armored divots here. Just put a little dot on those. Using just the tip of the brush for those little bolts. I almost forgot the knee pad. Let's see, anything else? Alright, that looks good. Now I'm going to take a little brush and I've chopped most of the bristles off. I use it as a tiny dry brush, and I'm going to take some ash gray here. And what I'm going to do is I am going to dry brush on some gray, the ash gray on top of the little nubs there. And see, that helps the texture pop out. There we go. now I'm going to call him done. So the final step, which I'm going to wait for this to dry because I got to take this out, is I'm going to rim black around the base there to make this pop out. But that is our Gutrippaz done to tabletop battle ready status. Alright, well thank you for joining us at Miniature Wargaming Labs, and we'll see you next time.